Okay, welcome everyone. We are live over here today on this awesome Friday. Happy to have everyone here with us. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be in the world. We're back here with another stream over here at Level Effect. We've got our guest instructor here for the day, also SOC 100 instructor, also founder of Cyberkata. Needs no introduction. You've met him before. You know he's capable of. Doug Kaluhiokalani, super experienced, 15, 20 plus years, I think now, defending nation state threat actors from getting inside our boundaries. This guy's got a ton of experience, and I'm happy to actually get him on stream now to do a proper walkthrough, a bit of a teaser because he's going to have some more content coming from us soon, but he was really excited to put this together. So Doug, we've got an awesome stream here today with the dark web APT case study. It's time to see what's behind the dark web. Doug, welcome to the stream.
Chris. Yeah, I appreciate it. That was amazing introduction, Anthony. Appreciate it. It's awesome to have Anthony as well, and collaborate with him. He's super talented, super knowledgeable. He does everything. So yeah, the dark web APT case study. So like Anthony was saying, I have 15 plus years of experience. Most of it has been in the blue team, defensive sector. But I've also been doing a lot of offensive, and that's what brings the stream today. Is I'm going to be showing you guys how to use some of the offensive tactics and TTPs to go ahead and reinforce and get you guys to that next level as a defender, as a blue teamer. I also have experience in military and in NATO cybersecurity exercises. So yeah, without further ado, this is the course study. First, I want to go through a disclaimer. So level effect, all parties involved want to make sure that in this demonstration, they don't have any responsibility, etc., for anything you guys want to do by yourselves. So basically, this is saying don't go off the trail of what I'm showing you guys. Be safe, be careful. If you guys do decide to veer off when you're in the dark web, that's on you guys. Like, just be careful, because you can definitely get compromised. You can definitely go to the wrong site, and you can stumble upon something that may endanger your computer and your network. So yeah, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to go through a dark web walkthrough, how to set up, what is the dark web, what is Tor browser. We're going to be using Tor Onion browser. And then after that, we're going in the second half, probably around 1 o'clock, we're going to be doing a APT case study using MITRE ATT&CK framework. And then I'll show you guys the breakdown. So yeah, if everybody's ready, where's the dark web? So dark web is the hidden layer of the internet where there's no censorship, no monitoring. Your identity is basically obfuscated or anonymized. It's designed to be a free range internet layer where there's black markets, there's hackers, there's people that can do whatever they want, essentially. So you'll see a lot of malicious activity on the dark web. In some of these hacker forums, in some of the black market sites, etc. And that's why it's dangerous. It's because it's designed not to have any censorship, any monitoring. It was developed by the Navy. The Navy R&D first developed it for having the anonymous identity and anonymity, so they can go ahead and do threat intelligence, basically, and surveillance on malicious or bad guys internationally. So how it works is, let's say this is, and so I got this screenshot from Palo Alto Networks, the link's underneath, but I thought this was really good. So this is Amelia's computer, your computer. So the reason, so the first thing I would say is, most important, is make sure you have a VPN up, whether it's free, ideally a external VPN service, so like NordVPN or something that is comparable and also quality. So I have mine up. connected. You can change the locations, etc. Make sure your VPN's up. Make sure you're using a laptop that can, if you do get compromised, you can afford to wipe it. Don't use your work computer, anything that has personal identification. So when you first log in, you're going to go into the node. It's going to go through node 1, and then when it enters node 1, it's gonna have a copy, or it's gonna record your IP address. So it's going to record your IP address. So if you're not using a VPN, it's going to have your personal laptop's IP address. So you want to make sure that you have it obfuscated. You have protection. So it's not recording that initial IP address hit when it goes into a node. From there, it's going to bounce to, so node 1 could be like Algeria, and it will give you a mask IP address. And then from there, it'll bounce you to a middle relay. And then from there, you'll exit, and then you'll go to whatever the site is. A lot of the tool browsers that you'll see, because I'm going to be doing it live, and we're just going to go through a couple. But a lot of the tool browsers that you see are going to be .onion. So they'll have a .onion address, or sometimes you'll see a .tor or .sh. Some of the forums, some of the sites can also be, you can go to on the open web as well. So here, so exactly this point. There's an example of Harvard student, 2013. He was sending in a bomb threat. He was using Tor to, anonymous email provider. He didn't use a VPN or any obfuscation. So basically, they were able to track and follow his IP address when it entered the first node. And that's how they were able to tie it back, because it was in the email's header. So if you look at the email's header, even if you're using Tor browser, it still has the tracking of that initial IP address when it hits the first node. So that's why you want to obfuscate. That's why you want to protect yourself. And then, if you want to read more, there's the link right there. So we're using Tor browser for the exercise. Go ahead, hit the link. Tells you about Tor browser. Okay, so there's a question chat. Sorry.
Yeah, let's take a look. We got Kim over there asking a question. So don't you become a suspect by using the Tor network?
No. So you are not a suspect. Anybody can use Tor browser. It has a negative connotation, or a lot of people are thinking, oh, well, if you're using a Tor browser or a dark web, it's automatically you're trying to do something malicious. No. It does have a bad rep because a lot of actors, and it's not anonymized, but you're not a suspect. Nobody's going to think you're doing malicious stuff until you actually do. So if you actually are using it for malicious activity, then that's what I'm saying. People in these black hat forums, in these black market sites, they can track you. They're really good black hats. They are some bad guys. So if you're not careful, they can go ahead and track you down, and they can tie you back, and they can go ahead and identify where your address is. So it's not bad if you use Tor browser, basically. So yeah, so you want to download, you want to go to downloads, you'll download it there, select your language. Once you go ahead and download it, it'll pop up in your downloads. You download it from there, install it, have it here. This is what it's going to look like. Then so it's establishing connection.
Nice.
Cool. And then this is what you're going to see. So yeah, and it's using DuckDuckGo. Yeah, and then so .to.
So what is null.to, Doug? For
So
all
this is,
the newcomers in the
yeah.
room.
This is a site where it's a community of a mix of like cybersecurity and just people being curious about random things. So you can find, and I'll show you guys in a minute, you'll find that there's it's a big forum, but they have different things. So they have forums or discussions about, I don't know, cracking software. You'll have forums about, sometimes people are like here, this is so this site I'm showing you guys is a mild vanilla version of some of the awful sites. Oh, and then I'll also go back to the lab because there is, okay, so we already downloaded it. So I'll go to the Palo Alto link. Oh wait, actually, sorry, it is, if I have Amber. Yeah, so this link I'll also show you guys. So we're going to be going to, so the following sites we're going to that is going to be okay. Vanilla is null.to and then 0x00sec.org. And so the .org means you could access it through .web. But here, so I want to show you guys this. This SOC Radar, they put out documentation, and there's others, but this is some of the bad sites, like the black market sites, that some of them actually have been shut down. I know Cypher has been shut down. Russian market has been shut down. So if you try to go to it, it'll pop up with FBI, DISA, and CISA. So for those of you that don't know, DISA is Defense Information Security Agency. CISA is Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, both under the DHS chain. So yeah, they are big agencies. They all work together, and they shut down Russian market sites, black market sites. So because it's associated with very, very bad things, whether it's hackers, whether it's a lot of explicit content or illegal activity, international illegal activity, so trafficking, etc. It's not something you want to stumble upon and go to. So some of these sites have already been shut down. Some of them are still up, but you need like double authentication, passwords, etc. to go ahead and get into it. So yeah, we'll be doing null.to and then 0x. But so going back to it, this is going to be mild. So there's a Ledger, Flex. They have a $70 crypto gift card. So that's an example of some of the things that they will sell. They'll show you. You have cryptocurrencies here that you could buy. They'll show you different forms. But one thing to keep in mind, even if you go to this, like you'll see a lot of these topics, these ads, anonymous crypto tools. So you could go to a forum and talk about it, and they'll be like, "Oh, there's a free $48 crypto gift card." No, they are trying to scam each other. These are criminals within criminals. So they are trying to scam each other, and I say criminals in the root sense of they may not be doing illegal activity, or they may. You don't know because you can't really trust some of these usernames that are there. And then some of these, you'll see reviews saying, "Hey, don't trust this member. This person scammed me. I purchased, a $75 gift card on, a financial hacking tool or a credit card hacking tool, and he didn't respond to me, and I didn't get the software." So they are out here scamming each other, trying to rip each other off. So how you would use this and how I would approach this is I go on here and basically troll. So trolling means comes from gaming terminology of, you're basically you're basically just trying to observe, and you're trying to um intentionally, instigate, or you're trying to just monitor what's happening and look at what things are going on. So you can just follow them, stalk, etc. And if you want to instigate stuff, you can. But here, I don't go into any of them. I don't log in. I don't comment. But I look at what they're using. So, for example, cryptocurrencies. If I wanted to find out what things they are trying to do as far as, I think I did see one. Yeah, so a free Bitcoin bot. You can go ahead and look at that form, and then you can look at how they are grabbing some of the credentials or stealing Bitcoins. So what are they proposing? Who is this person doing? Would you be able to configure free Doge coin? Can you go ahead and have a bot, or is he using a bot for malicious intent? Because what I can do is I can look at, oh, okay, this is the software, this is what it's doing, this is the script it's using. Cool. Let me go ahead and safely do some more research and investigation into how we can defend against it. Because it's important. And so looking at some of these forums, looking at some of these chats and communication, it's giving you an idea of, okay, well, what things are they doing to try to hack? Whether it's hacking organizations, whether it's hacking and bypassing networks, firewalls, IPSs, IDSs. So IPS is an intrusion prevention system, like Snort, that you'll see a lot of organizations, businesses use. So if you're in a SOC, especially in the SOC role, you'll have an intrusion prevention system tied into your firewall or into a SIM tool, SIM platform, which will go ahead and automate security triggers to go ahead and stop malicious IP addresses, software payloads, etc. So if you are in here and you're looking at we can look at cracking. I saw some good stuff. So cracking tools. You can go ahead and look at what things they are posting on these forums as far as credit card hacks, proxy scrapers, how to go ahead and bypass proxies, perform a MITM, which is a machine in the middle or a man in the middle attack, which means that you're basically sitting in as the middleman and you're watching traffic before somebody logs into a website like facebook.com or Instagram, etc. And so you're basically grabbing those credentials before they hit the site, or you're grabbing those credentials and you're migrating them, like moving them to a custom site that you have so they can log in, and basically they're giving you their credentials. So their login, username, password, all that stuff. So some of these tools will go ahead, and I'm looking at it as, okay, what is the Atlassian patch crack generator? It's using Jira, it's using Bitbucket, Confluence, Bamboo. What is it doing? We'll patch some DLL files. Is it malicious? What is it doing? Let's do some more research. Is this a cracking tool? What is it cracking? What is it going around? So right here, it's what are they saying about it? So yeah, and generate serial keys, even upgrade and patch again. And some of these they don't really comment. It's just thank yous, all that. So we can also
Just
go.
a lot of people trying to scam one another, a lot of trolling. What so, Doug, a question over there from Eric in chat, but I think it's I'm also going to kind of add on that question. Like, what are the most common things you're seeing on a daily basis? Like whenever you're kind of triaging, navigating through this area, gathering intel. I
Yeah.
guess whatever's safe to say, obviously on stream with Twitch TOS, but like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So a lot of the things is, for instance, this is more a learning site. So a lot of the things I'm seeing is good, a balance of good, like people showing you how to set up canary tokens and how to set up a environment that you can have more telemetry and visibility. So it's a balance of good and defender advanced techniques for security and cybersecurity, and it's also a balance of bad. As you see, on n.to, they have a lot of cracking tools. They have a lot of tools that are trying to steal Bitcoins. They're trying to go ahead and bypass security checks. Some malicious things that can bypass security tools. So like a Spotify bot or some of these cracking tools that can obfuscate their identity, but also bypass the login or the MFA checks. So I would say a balance of both bad and good, if you're talking about in general, but specifically for these two sites. And that's how I treat it is, okay, let's look at some of the bad things people are doing and some of the creative tools that they're coming up with to go ahead and bypass security and inspection checks, MFA, two-factor authentication, etc. IPSs, firewalls, network. So yeah, I think it's important to go ahead and sit in on some of these and look at it when you have time of monitoring. Okay, well, what are they doing as far as like malicious attacks? And then you go ahead and do research on the side. Let me learn more about this tool. Like what does it do? Like what's the nitty-gritty details of it? And then some of the actual attacks that nation states are doing is similar. So it's advanced, and we're going to take a look at that in 30 minutes. But it's advanced, but it's basically the same premise. You're trying to use a tool, you're trying to use a script to go ahead and bypass being detected on somebody's network, on somebody's firewall. You're trying to bypass being caught. So that way you can go ahead and take a peek around and be stealthy. So some of these tools, it just makes it a little bit easier for people that are not as advanced as some of the nation state actors or a red teamer, like yourself, or others. So yeah, it's good to know both. But that's what I'm basically seeing is a lot of like these software cracking tools, password generator bypasses. They're bypassing MFAs on the malicious side in this form even. And you guys can also go and take a look. But the blue side and the 0x00 sec, they are showing you, how to do canary tokens. What is a canary token? Why should you use it? And that's a harmless, tool that you guys can go then, even use yourself. So I can go canary tokens and just, Google it, search it. So it basically tells you it's a free tool. I've used canary tokens myself, and it just allows you to go ahead and you can set up, and as far as telemetry, you can have more visibility. If somebody stumbles upon your website, are they trying to do something bad? Are they trying to do something good? So yeah, canary tokens teaches you like how you dockerize it, SSH, FTP. So it's a form of basically showing you about canary tokens, how it's being used as a teaching tool. So you have some of these forms in here that is designed for blue teaming. And then you have red teaming, you have bug bounties, exploits, reconnaissance, malware. So this one, I would say, you guys could use it more of the learning side and defensive side, um, and see what cool things people are coming up with that you may not be aware of or you want to get more into, like end mapping or info gathering on Discord, Steam, etc. So, yeah. Um, any questions? You guys good? MFA cracks are wild. Yeah. Live streaming my project through Delivery app.
Yeah, I took
Yeah.
that one out. Yeah.
Recently, I have also started. Yep. Cool.
We almost
Nice.
got a decent question there, actually.
Yeah. Are you able to speak a bit about the underground threat actor ecosystem? Access brokers. Uh, yes and no. So, um, you can, I would say, maybe go here. So, if you guys are seeing it, this is the SOC radar. I would say so. Some of these, it's it's a mixed bag when you're talking about underground threat actors because they could be nation state, they could be somebody that is trying to do malicious things, or they're trying to just cause chaos or havoc. They're trying to do something as far as like decensorship. So or they're trying to take down websites like Anonymous, and some of these other groups. And then you never know, some of these underground threat actors that are doing bad things in Tor, in the Onion browser or Tor browser, they could be associated with APT 29, APT 28, some of these Russian hacker groups that are nation state actors. So you don't know who's in it, who's doing what until you see some of the things. But even some of these websites, this is where you'll find really bad guys, like hackers for hire, people. Hey, if you pay me 50 bitcoins, I'll be able to hack any website you want, including like some of the big name corporations like PNC, etc. um Bank of America, all these. And so they are willing to do some of these really, really bad things. And you'll see it in some of these sites. And that's why these are dangerous also. Because once you're in it, if you're seeing it, or if you associate, or if you comment, or if you talk to them, you don't know who's on the other side of that. So you don't know if they're legit. You don't know if they are trying to scam you. You don't know if they are actually going to follow through with the product that they're advertising, that you're paying them for. You don't know how the transfer is going to go. It's so many different factors. So it's that's why I said could be dangerous, but also people have been successful. People have purchased hackers for hire on Cypher Marketplace. They've purchased drugs, bad things. So yeah, I would say a lot of the underground threat actors that you hear about doing bad things, or people getting drugs or illegal products, most of the time is associated with this, or they're using the Tor browser to kind of hide their search queries, and thinking that, oh, I don't need a VPN, or I don't need to obfuscate my IP address when I just go into a Tor browser and automatically, boop, I'm anonymized and obfuscated, and nobody's going to be able to track my history and all that stuff. No. If you don't obfuscate in the beginning with a VPN, or just masking your IP address before you enter, it's going to record it. So, yeah. I think this current discussion is kind of answering my question. Okay.
Covered a lot of good ground there, yeah.
Yeah. For intelligence from here and seeing what the latest trends are in these environments. Yep. And that's exactly how you should be using it. So if you go to these sites using Tor browser, you should be using it as like, OSINT versus fraudster, or what is Shodan? What is, how are you able to go ahead and do social engineering? How can you go ahead and defend against some of these attacks? Whether it's, from PayPal, as you're seeing here, which is obviously a phishing country, Nigeria, there is MoneyGram, yeah, receipt. So a lot of these phishing emails, obviously they'll ask you to purchase gift cards, or go get Bitcoin, or hey,
Always.
go to this go to this address and go ahead and pay $50 and it'll transfer it to like a MoneyGram or whatever it is. The reason why, you know, for these gift cards and Bitcoin is because it's hard for law enforcement agencies most of the time to track it. So if you get like a gift card, if you get Bitcoin, they're not going to keep that one Bitcoin, that 50 Bitcoins that you just paid them for hacking their previous employer. No, they're going to go ahead and break it up. If they're smart, they're going to break it up into other Bitcoin or cryptocurrency and equivalency. So they're going to break up 50 Bitcoins into like 10 Dogecoins and 10 or 20 I don't know, John coins, and they're just going to break it up to these different cryptocurrencies so they can go ahead and send it to another account that's external or international account. So that way it's even harder for you to follow the breadcrumbs and follow the trail. So, and I've also worked with FBI and CISA, and it's hard for them to go ahead and track it down once somebody has paid in Bitcoin or paid them. So once you've paid that person, it's hard to go ahead and follow that breadcrumb. So because they're being more creative, they're being more crafty, etc. Right now, looking at the recent, alleged gravy analytics data leak. Yeah.
That was put up through XSS. Mm-hmm.
So do you have any comments, anything you want to add, Anthony, about it?
I think you're covering a lot of good ground over here, man. But yeah, I think it really paints a good idea. There's a lot of transactional exchanges that happen that kind of push receipts, and sort of like that chain of custody gets lost pretty quickly. Like you've got a really limited amount of steps you can take between investigating events, and this is not just like from a nation state level too, right? Like this is like general threat actors trying to get into your network as well, through some type of remote vulnerability. Like there's only so many steps that you can try to catch up to them with before the trail can run pretty cold pretty quick. And then all the latest protocols like blockchain and such kind of is a nice way to cover up your tracks. So you don't necessarily even need to have, I would say, a complex attack, because you can hide your tracks so quickly. And I think that's kind of what you're highlighting there. And I hope people are realizing that, as Doug's saying it, like these are just like simple scams. And they're simple and they keep doing it because it works.
Yeah. And so you'll also see, I'm curious to see, I don't know if this one's been taken out. But some of these sites you'll see a FBI. Yeah, so this one hasn't been taken down. Yeah, so this is Abacus Market. I would say this is dangerous. And so if you want to read more about it without going to it, there. So they have a lot of counterfeit items. So they have counterfeit. You don't know if you're buying counterfeit until you go to a section and that's counterfeit, or if you want to go ahead and get some jewels or gold or anything on the market, then you don't know if it's stolen. You don't know if it is legit or if it's counterfeit. Just because they have a counterfeit section doesn't mean that the other products in the other sections are not counterfeit. Yes, I mean there is some. They want to go ahead and hold their reputation as that, on Abacus Market, they want to hold, or Cypher Market, they want to hold a reputation of having, delivery of their products and making sure that there's not everybody on this trying to scam each other and rip each other off. But they also do say they can't protect you if you buy something sketchy with your money and it's not what you want. So you're kind of taking a gamble. Is this potentially a stolen product? Is this person going to rip me off and just take my money and not provide the hacking service that they are advertising? Are they going to go ahead and follow through with creating a payload, like for example Hydra, a Hydra.exe or a Hydra virus, that will go ahead and act like a worm to a website? So a Hydra virus is a payload that can be used to very quickly spread. And so if you don't catch it at the initial node or the initial payload, the initial exe, then it's going to be very hard to stop it, because once you try to kill one of the clone processes or clone payloads, and if it's a worm, then it's just branching out throughout all the websites, it's crawling throughout all of the different sections, etc. So if you don't stop it at the initial point, then you're not going to be able to stop it in time. It's nasty. So they also sell other products, but yeah, you don't know if you go to these sites if you're getting legit products. And so that's why it's also dangerous. That's why the FBI is trying to stop these things, obviously because of illegal activity as well. Yeah.
A couple other questions over there too, Doug. So Karina's asking, sort of a beginner question, but what is the reason threat actors post here on n.to? Are they less likely to get caught?
Yeah. Yes and no. So you'll see a lot of these, like you'll see, for instance, this, like a super fast proxy scraper and checker, open source, etc. You'll see a username and you'll see when they posted it. So technically what you could do is you could look at this, go to this forum, you could go ahead and try to track down and trace back that username to go ahead and see, okay, who is this person? What's the username tied to, or this account tied to? Is it legit or not? You could, maybe try to do social engineering and go to the website or domain master and ask them like, oh, blah blah blah. They probably won't give you any of their account credentials or information, obviously, but you could try a backtrace. Is this account legit? Who are they? What are they doing? Are they credible or not? So I would say you can go on null.to and also 0xsec.org. Those are pretty mild compared to the bad ones that you saw, like APT Market, Cypher Market, Russian Marketplace, etc. Don't go those. Unless you absolutely know what you're doing and you look for FBI, CISA, DISA, etc., and that's your job, don't do it. You're going to also see some pretty crazy things. And I say crazy loosely in the sense of a lot of graphic things. So you may not even want to go there. It's bad. So yeah, I would say these, just go on there. Look at it as far as intelligence, reconnaissance. Look at it as, what are the bad guys trying to do? How are they using some of these cracking tools, these proxy checkers, these bypass server or bypass MFA? How are they doing it using this tool? And then go ahead and like this. Let's take the IP vanish. Try to, within Tor, I would say within Tor, because it might also give you more results and it's not censored and filtered like Google is, or Mozilla Firefox, etc. So even if you're using Google, you may not get the full amount of results because maybe it's filtered, maybe it's monitored and censored, because it may or may not have walkthroughs of I don't know, like explicit material or things that will show you how to bypass certain things. So, but you'll see here, it saying I'm in Germany, I can turn on safe search, etc. But IP vanish, just do a search for it. It's VPN, secure browser, cloud storage, etc. So what is IP vanish? And then in here, so they're advertising easy IP vanish VPN account checker. It's on the website. What are they advertising? Is it reputable? Is it hacking, or are they just basically giving you the same thing that this website, the actual source, is saying? So that's how you would kind of look at it. You would just look at what they're advertising. What are they selling as far as like a cracking tool, or some type of software, some type of bypass? How are they doing this malicious activity? And then I would go ahead and just do a search for it and just do some research of, okay, well, what is this? How's it working? Does anybody post anything on other forums that are not this forum that can give me more details? And try to get as much details in other different sources as well. So that way you can go ahead and dig into, okay, a proxy scraper is doing this. This is how I'll defend against it. If it's, let's say they are exploiting and using, they're on the backbone of, I don't know, Metasploit, or, it's exploiting using Eternal Blue exe or Eternal Blue file. Well, if it's using Eternal Blue and you don't have Eternal Blue vulnerability within your environment, then that's not going to be able to do it. How else is it creating exploits vulnerabilities? So just breaking it down and analyzing, like, what are some of these tools? So
Nice. Good breakdown, Doug.
yeah.
So
So I can go into more of the deeper details, but I want to keep it to 2 hours, give you guys some break time. And then I wanted to actually show you some of the techniques that the more advanced guys, the nation state hackers, are doing. But if you guys want to see, like, on a separate channel or on the SOC 100 private channels, student channels, we can go in and I can show you guys, like, hey, this is how I would take, for instance, the super fast proxy scraper, and then I would do some research, and then let's dig into the details of what it actually is doing, like the nitty-gritty technical of, okay, well, how is it doing, how is it being a proxy scraper? What is it looking for? Is it looking for open ports? Is it looking for bypassing proxies? Is it is it pretending to be a proxy itself, and then you enter it, and now it's instead of being a proxy, it's redirecting you? Or how's it doing what it's doing? So breaking down the actual software itself.
I think that'd be really good to have another stream doing a little bit more of that. It'd be really appreciated. I think we got time as well. One more question here from Beard, a little bit ahead inside the chat before we get more technical. But so Beard's asking, what's the fine line for ethical boundaries when going into the dark web for intel? So, like, I guess, what is the difference between what you're doing now and then, I guess, like, what is okay and what is not okay between what you're doing and where you could go and do things, I guess?
Where it's bad is if I am purchasing any of these cracking tools. So if all cracking tools, softwares, leaked apps, etc., make easy money cracking today. If I purchase this tool from this user, even on this website, that's bad. That's illegal. It could also be that this is sometimes, I don't think on this site, but on some of the sites like Abacus Market, the FBI will go ahead and create an account, and they're trying to bait people into buying some of these bad tools or illegal cracking software for malicious intent, and they will bait them, and basically it's a sting where they are trying to shut down the market, but they're trying to get enough people buying illegal activity or to find some evidence to trace this like abacus market or the Russian marketplace back to, okay, well, it's tied to Russian nation state actors. With this, I mean, if you're buying, like if I bought this and I paid this user to go ahead and have leaked apps, and I actually use it on like a big corporation, then yeah, that's bad. You might get caught. Probably, likely, you will get caught. High chance you'll get caught. Or also, this guy might just take my money and not respond to me.
Yeah.
So you're running the risk. So between ethical and unethical, or ethical and okay, well, now you just crossed over that line. So if I'm in here just looking at it and I'm not applying, I'm not purchasing anything, I can go ahead and monitor. If I'm in the abacus market, that's fishy. It's sketchy, because if you're going in there and it's a marketplace that is solely responsible for drugs and like I think the Russian marketplace or Cypher Market. Cypher Market has a bunch, like counterfeits, credit cards, documents, drugs, dumps. If I'm in the drug section of Cypher Market and I'm looking at a bunch of things, yeah, there. And if I get caught for something illegal, there's a chance that law enforcement can go ahead, take my laptop, look at it, see, see if there's any evidence of, okay, well, he's trying to buy drugs, or if it's a account and somebody bought it off of, and I'm in the drug section in Cypher Marketplace, and I bought it from this person in an account or username, John123. Really, that John123 could be an FBI agent, could be DEA, etc. So if you bought it from them and they have that paper trail and you went to that specific site, you know what you're doing. You know why you went there. So that's the fine line between, now you're not just doing reconnaissance and you're not trying to be a better defender and using offensive. No, like there is no offense in cybersecurity and buying drugs or illegal products. So if you are on Node, or if you're on some of these other sites like 0x00sec, and you're looking at the blue teaming or reconnaissance or social engineering or OSINT and phishing, yeah, this is actually breaking down. This is a phishing email. This is why it's a phishing email. This is what they are trying to do. This is how they're trying to get the money from you. So this is breaking down the actual email itself, who this person is, like the actual Gmail, why they got this email, this phishing email, what the actual body of the message is, etc. So OSINT versus fraudsters. So these are actual learning forums, learning channels that you can go and further use it to advance your blue teaming knowledge in defensive. And that's how I use it. So, some of these things will go ahead and give me a different perspective of like, oh, maybe I wasn't thinking about if somebody is trying to squat on a Navy.mil or a Navy government military email address, and they're trying to impersonate an email coming from the Navy. Oh, I didn't think about that. Huh? What's the evidence showing that this is not legit? So, yeah, some of those things.
Cool. Good answers, yeah. Especially a website like this, you can get some info from. I mean, arguably might be a little bit more technical and more valuable than just kind of scrolling through Reddit and trying to find information from there.
Yeah, because this site,
it's intentional. Yeah.
And they even break down like this script. Like they give you the script of, this is the shorthand API key. This is how you run it, etc. So,
cool.
Yeah. Did you guys want to take a break? Any other questions?
Yeah, take a little fiber, top up the coffee. Good. Get another swig of caffeine going. set a break for 5 minutes and then let's get back into it. Sounds good? Cool. I'm gonna put up a little
Sounds good.
message.
So,
Cool. All right, and we're back. Back with some more dark web digging around here with Doug. Unpin that message over there in chat. We're back in action. Hope everyone's got their caffeine ready to go. Get back to it.
Okay.
So let's get technical, man. Let's hop into an APT 28 case study. All right.
Cool. You guys hear me? Everything good?
Good, yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah. So on the lab, APT 28 case study. So second portion, we're going to be using MITRE ATT&CK website to break down tactics, techniques, procedures, TTPs, of a known active hacker group. So you can go ahead and follow the link. It should pop up with what you see on screen. So here. Yep. And then I chose APT 28, as you see here, because they're one of the recent aggressive nation state hackers. They were primarily active 2018. They're still kind of active. They are working with other nation state actors, it seems, and other groups, but some of their targets were a U.S. nuclear facility, Swiss chemical laboratory, and others. You also see that here on the MITRE ATT&CK framework or MITRE ATT&CK website. And so, yeah, 2016 attacks, 2015, indicted 5 group unit officers. So Russia, obviously. Associated group description. So these are some of the names that you'll see associated with APT 28. I think, yeah, you'll see a lot of people when they reference this group, they'll reference it as like, Fancy Bear, or if you use CrowdStrike in your organization, you'll see it identified as like, I don't know, like Fancy Bear or like Black Spider or Black Widow or something like that. So they name a lot of like spider groups and Fancy Bears and all that stuff. So the techniques. So MITRE ATT&CK, before we get into that, give you guys a breakdown if you don't already know. MITRE ATT&CK framework is 14 steps. Here it's listed here of how an attacker attacks. Like, what is their methodology? What's their mindset? A lot of the red teamers, and if you're a blue teamer, you should be thinking about it once you have a solid foundation basis of blue team necessary information. So once you are at the comfortable level of a SOC 100 analyst and you have a good foundation, a good standing ground, and you're doing some work in an actual SOC, you should start thinking more and more like an attacker. Like, how are bad guys going to attack this organization? How are they going to go through different steps of an attack? How does it happen? And so MITRE ATT&CK has this framework, and you'll also see the cyber kill chain. Also, I think it was by Booz Allen or Lockheed Martin. The cyber kill chain, which is 6 to 7, but pretty much similar to this, where it breaks down the steps, the stages of an attack. Obviously, if you're an attacker, red teamer, ethical hacker, the first thing you're doing is reconnaissance. You're using open source information, you're doing Google, you're looking for a target within that organization, whether you're impersonating the CEO or the VP of business, the CFO. If you're trying to impersonate some of these people, and then you're going to start tailoring or customizing a phishing email where you are that person and you talk like that CFO or that CEO, and you try to use words that would be more convincing instead of, hey, I'm the CEO, I need this done, I need you to wire money to this account. Well, that's automatically sketchy if he's never said that before. And then resource development, initial access, execution, persistence, privilege escalation. So once you do reconnaissance, you develop out your resources. You're trying to find where you can go ahead and have an entry point. what resources you can utilize and use. You'll have initial access. Once you get initial access, whether it's bypassing firewalls, bypassing the network, using Nmap or stealth scans, or you're using like Nessus or something, and you're exporting a open port, let's say, you can go ahead and bypass into it, and then you're executing, you're running malicious code, or because you'll have your payload and your executable ready to go before you start doing the attack. Before you even start doing reconnaissance, you should start developing out what type of payload and executable you're going to do. Persistence, privilege escalation. So once you have entered the organization, you've bypassed the network, you want to make sure you maintain a foothold. You go ahead and grab the credentials. You do a credential grab, or you go ahead and get some tokens. If they are using tokens and it's just out there in the wild in the environment, or they have one that's still valid and you're able to obtain it easily. Once you're in the organization or the network, you can grab the token, and then now you have a way in, and then from there you want to maintain that persistence. You want to maintain that account, and then you want to try escalate, but you want to do it so you're not sending off alarms and you're letting them know of where you are and if you're embedded or not. Do that. Defensive evasion, credential access, discovery, level movement, which is if I have user credentials, I'm basically trying to escalate my privileges to admin or root credentials, like super user credentials, so that way I can have access to the domain controller, to Active Directory, to all of the keys that can, basically golden key. You're doing collection, so you're either grabbing files, you're gathering intel or data. You're either making copies of it and sending it to a external server, a external dump site, basically. And so you have all of that gathered, you have copies of it, or you're actually grabbing the files and data, and then you're just locking it down, and you're going to hold it for ransom, obviously ransomware. So you're holding it down, you're locking it down, and then you'll attach a password to it, an encrypted key, and then you're like, hey, if you want your files back or all of this information, you'll want it released to the public or to your other competitors, pay me this amount of money, Bitcoin, etc. And then obviously command and control, and then exfiltration. You want to make sure that you can go in there stealthily and get out stealthily before they know what's in there, and before you don't want them to know that you're there and you were there until you're ready. And if you're doing a ransom, then obviously you're going to send them email saying, hey, I grabbed your stuff, here's an example, boom, screenshot, good to go. So yeah, and then the impact, they're trying to manipulate, destroy, interrupt, ransom, etc., or sell it on the black market, Tor, Cypher market, Abacus market, all these places, Russian marketplace. So this particular user, APT28, like I said, they were aggressive. Some of the techniques that they identified, from law enforcement, and actual attacks, were they did access token manipulation, account manipulations. They acquired domains. There's a lot, obviously. So some of these techniques are easy, and will fill into, like, many of them will fall under like reconnaissance stage. So a perfect example is password spraying. So they're spraying for they're trying brute force, and they're also just widespread, like a shotgun shell, of, hey, where can this password hit? But they're also trying to, like it said, they're trying to send over 300 authentication attempts per hour. so to a targeted account. So they're trying to, whether it's you'll sometimes hear in the news or people talking about you bad guys will try to send notifications like MFA, accept or deny, on your app. Like if it's Microsoft MFA or Authenticator app, you have to accept it, or you have to accept the request. So if somebody's spamming that and it's 2 in the morning and 3 in the morning and you're just getting all these alerts, eventually somebody's going to say accept just to make it stop. So they just don't keep getting spammed on the phone of all these, hey, let me in, admit. And if they're tired, they're not paying attention, that's how mistakes happen. And they're like, why am I getting 200 or 50 of these? Yeah, whatever, except I admit it, it's probably a sysadmin that's trying to go in there and do some work on the servers. Nope, bad guy just got in. So you just let him in because now he's doing password sprays. Now he's just spamming your phone, and not only you, but 200, 300 other people per hour. And they're using a tool, obviously. There's no way they can just hit there, just enter. So they're using a tool to go ahead and brute force get in, and that's part of reconnaissance. So you're using password spraying, brute forcing. Sometimes also, and I'll get into it once I do my my malware and threat hunting section, there'll be a text file that you can create of like all these different passwords, and you could randomize it if you want, but you could set it for like I don't know, like anything from 6 to 14 characters, passwords, randomized characters, and you just dump it all into a text file, and then you upload that text file to, I don't know, Hydra, or you can upload it to John the Ripper, for instance, or you could do there's another one, Hashcat, and you could just basically run it on a Linux, on a Kali Linux, as one of the tools on the back end in the terminal. And then you just upload it and you say, hey, reference this text file. Bam. It references the text file and it looks at all of those passwords that you threw into it. And then it just tries all of those. And then you're like, hey, specify all of these people or specify this organization. And it does it. It just tries all of those on all of those users and it attempts it. So that'll be like password spraying, brute forcing, command and scripting interrupter using PowerShell. That's why Anthony showed you guys at the first section, the first, month? PowerShell. This is why PowerShell is important. This is why you should either use command line or command prompt or PowerShell. And then he transitioned you guys to Linux and terminal. So it's important. PowerShell is either, if you're starting out as a red teamer, you're either using PowerShell or you're using Python, or I don't know what else. I think those two. Are there others that would you start off with, Anthony?
For me, yeah, it was Python and Bash. I was just, that's pretty much everything. I mean, like a little bit of Ruby, just to go and mess around with like metasploitable types of metasploit scripts, not metasploitable. Just go maybe alter them a little bit, and yeah, I think you kind of learn the fundamentals of what a scripting language is and what a programming language is, and then you can sort of just apply either one, because you're going to be messing around with JavaScript, you're going to be messing around with Perl, even like you're going to be messing around with other languages, PHP, even as much as I dislike it. You're going to be coming across everything else. But yeah, Python and Bash pretty much. And then from a Windows perspective, PowerShell is a huge friend of yours, both as a red teamer and a blue teamer, just because, like as we talked about, it's so like hooked into the operating system, the Active Directory. It just expedites the attack. And that's what, like, you're showing them the step-by-step, play-by-play of how the attack is progressing from one end of the kill cycle to the other, or one end of the TTP spectrum to the other. And your knowledge of one of those areas just means you can skip that much faster, like along the kill chain.
Yeah, great. So that's why the things that Anthony and some of the other instructors and myself are showing you is important. And how you can go ahead and utilize that more, both offensive and defensive. and how that makes you better on both ends. Because if you understand, as a red teamer, you shouldn't just be siloed. Because I know a couple of red teamers that are just siloed into, oh well, I've never used these blue teaming tools, or I was never really a defender. I was like, well, how do you know how to bypass some of these tools? How do you know how to properly gauge the environment? How can you be on that next level if you don't have both sides of the coin? So I think it's important. So we could pick out some of these. Let's see. There was one that I thought was pretty cool. I think it's there it is, the rootkit. Yeah. So I like rootkits. Rootkits, and it's nasty. So you guys can read what rootkits are, but it's programs that hide the existence of malware, intercepting, hooking, modifying operating system API calls. They can do a lot of things. It's like so you could set up a rootkit to kind of be like a Swiss Army knife, where it has different malware that will do different functions, and it just spreads out, and it can just destroy a bunch of things and shut down a lot of operating system, whether it's API calls or just the operating system in general once it has a foothold. Or you can go ahead and use it to open up certain files, open up applications, etc. So APT28 used a UEFI. If you don't know what a UEFI, go back into the streams or Google it, learn about it, research. But Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, they were using LoJack to go ahead and modify. And this is why I also picked out MITRE ATT&CK, is because this. So it takes this software, LoJack, which is the UEFI rootkit, and it breaks down the different steps and the command. So if you guys are familiar with sysadmin, or if you guys have been paying attention to some of the streams that Anthony did earlier in the course in SOC 101, and when he was going through operating systems, sysadmin, creating local machines, local accounts, user accounts, admin accounts, etc., you'll recognize some of it. It's like, oh, okay, well, there's an H key. Okay, well, maybe I don't know what H key is. Okay, but I know what local machine is from the stream. So local machine, system, current control set. Okay, so it's doing something within the local system, within the local machine on the system. And session manager, boot execute. Okay, and it's changing that path and something inside of it as a auto check to auto check auto CHE. Interesting. So, in order to execute the payload. So basically what it's saying, even if you don't have any information about what that means, you can identify what a local machine, like the path, it's in the local machine, it's on the system. They are adjusting the session manager and the execute on boot, and they're changing this to this in order to execute the payload during Windows startup. And so it breaks it down, and it gives you the script examples of, oh, okay, well, this tool, this rootkit, it modified the registry keys. You don't know what registry key is, so you can go ahead and look into it, go back into streams, documentation, Google it, start learning, start learning for yourself, start being curious about everything, start branching out. That's how I've gotten to my level. That's how Anthony and everybody else has gotten to the level of being passionate, being motivated, being determined of, I don't know what this is, let me learn as much as I can about it. So yeah, and modified registry keys, deployed persist remote access software on some targeted systems. So basically it deployed on the BIOS, it basically embedded it on the deep back end of, okay, let me just maintain a persistent way that you can remote into it. and access this machine or access this account. So yeah, it's nasty. There's different things that different rootkits will do. Have you used any rootkits or anything similar as far as your techniques or tactics when you did red teaming, Anthony?
Honestly, no. Didn't need to. I mean, learned about it, but to the degree that I was actually testing and infiltrating networks and maintaining persistence or even lateral movement, it wasn't even necessary. That's the honest truth. Like, and that's kind of why I preach and advocate so much. Like, the defenses in general are so, I guess, so fragile. They're so insecurely set up that like you don't even need to get something to that degree.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Because this is like just being scorched earth, basically. It's just devastating everything. Like
yeah,
yeah.
makes a lot of
and
noise
also,
as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why you'll see a lot of nation state actors like APT 28 did this, but it wasn't their first way into the organization, as you see. It's all the way down here as far as the payload and something they want to deploy to maintain that persistence, maintain that remote access. So yeah, I think MITRE ATT&CK broke it down pretty well. They are showing off the different techniques. There's exploit public facing applications. So how this group was able to exploit public facing applications, the procedure examples. They exploited using CVE 2019 for Citrix, Pulse Secure VPNs. So they found vulnerabilities in organizations that were not patched and still had that vulnerability there. So they just exploited it, took advantage of it. Like, oh, and you'll see it too. Like once if you guys do consulting, if you guys do red teaming, pen testing, ethical hacking, etc., you'll see a lot of organizations, surprisingly, they don't update their systems, whether they have a Windows XP just sitting in the back that is only used for like I don't know, maintaining or monitoring their sensor systems or
Yeah.
their SCADA systems. A
Yeah.
lot in manufacturing and industrial sector, you'll see that like a lot of outdated machines or operating systems. And another thing, sorry. Oh, another thing you'll see is I've seen a couple of SHA-1s, and I'm like, why? So SHA-1 is the grouping of unsupported and outdated secure hash algorithms, and it's the bit encryption, and it's not supported. So a lot of people out in the wild, you'll see SHA-2 a lot, 256-bit encryptions. Some of them will have 512, and then there's technically SHA-3 grouping, but nobody really uses SHA-3. But some of the organizations I've seen still have SHA-1. I'm like, why? Like, why is this not updated? It's just asking to be hacked and taken advantage of. Or they'll have some ports that are open that they didn't know were just out there open, broadcasting to the internet or to a public for months at a time. And it's like, that you have port 22, which is SSH, or port 4444, just broadcasting out to the internet. It's broadcasting for like months now. So it's bad. So when you see some of these CVEs and some of these patches and vulnerabilities, it's because they forgot about it. They forgot about updating it. They didn't realize it. So lack of communication, lack of knowledge, lack of keeping up with current threats. As SOC analysts, do your research. Keep up with it. Be passionate about this career path. Be passionate about what cool things and nasty things the bad guys are coming up with, because this is why I'm still doing it. This is why I'm passionate about it. This is you can hear how excited I am and how much I love it, is because I see all these things and I'm like, ooh, this is awesome. Like, it's nasty, it's bad that these guys are doing it, but it's awesome that they are doing some of these attacks, because I want to learn about it. I want to know how they did it. I want to know how they found the backdoor, how they exploit certain tools, etc. So that's how I'm treating this breakdown. Is you guys are seeing some of these techniques, some of these tools that I'm showing you, and it may be advanced over your head right now, but if you break it down into bits that you understand, then you can go ahead and have a better idea of what the attack is doing, or what this specific technique is doing, and kind of relate it to something you understand. And then if you don't understand certain things, you just go ahead and try to learn, try to be forward thinking and pick up on, okay, well, I don't understand this now, but let me go ahead and try ingest in bits and pieces, so I can research and try to be ahead of the curve. So like the APT 41 used a boot login initialization script for using a hidden shell etc.rc.d init.d to leverage the adore.exsec backdoor and adore ng rootkit. Okay, well, I don't know what adore.ex or exsec is, so adore.exsec. Threat group, blah blah blah, MITRE ATT&CK, bypassing, and then you just go in and what is exsec? What is this? What is it? How does it work? What is it referencing? And then you can go ahead and start researching about it. Like, what does the malware or rootkit do? How is it? What path is it using? Well, we already know what path it was hitting. So it's hitting the exsec. And so you see that it's deployed in etcd init.d. So you saw the path breakdown. Close this. Sorry. But yeah, so LoJack, we have the rootkit. Yeah. And so some of the mitigations that they suggest: restrict file directory permissions. Obviously, if you have 10 admin accounts and only 5 of them are active and you're using those admin accounts, then why do you have the other 5 just sitting there? That somebody can go ahead and take advantage of. So once they grab that admin account, admin credentials, then they can go ahead and take advantage of it and deploy hidden shells or scripts or payloads, etc. Backdoors access. So yeah, this is saying some of the mitigations: restrict registry permissions. Obviously, you don't want everybody to have registry access, and especially when you get into a big organization, you will see a lot of people may not know what they're doing. So including the IT department. So may see some people that are backwards in time. They are 10 years behind the curve, and that's all they know, because they don't want to accept change, or they're not understanding of the newer technologies and how threats are advancing. So I've encountered a couple of people like that just they have been doing it for 20-30 years, and that's all they stick to, is just what they know, that's 10-20 years ago, and they just hold on to that, and they're like, oh well, I have everything I need to know to do my job. There you go. But yeah, you don't want to give certain people registry access if they don't know what they're doing, because they may go in there and break stuff. So not even from a malicious intent, it's just they may not know what they're doing. Sometimes they modify something, and now they just broke your keys, your registry keys, or maybe they just broke a path or access. So yeah, just just be careful. You know, restrict as much as you can, as far as access, as far as vantage points, backdoors, open ports, firewalls, etc. Network. Be on top of your network. Be on top of, okay, well, do we have visibility everywhere? Try to get as much visibility and telemetry into your organization and your network as much as possible. And so first thing, even when I'm consulting, first thing I ask, and I've a couple of people that ask me the interview questions, I would, when you're in the interview or in an organization doing consulting, how does that organization and the personnel in there, how do they understand their own organization and their way out? Do they understand um, the organization, the network? Do they understand what their critical assets are? If you don't understand what your critical assets are, how can us as cybersecurity, as defenders, as SOC analysts, how can we defend something that is so critical and crucial if we don't understand it? So you need to understand what your critical assets are within the sector. Like for instance, industrial manufacturing sector, you have SCADA systems. If you don't know what SCADA system, you need to learn. You need to make sure you understand what it is so you can protect it. Identify what the loopholes are. How have bad guys in the news and in the past taken advantage of SCADA systems and exploited them? How if you're in the financial sector, knowing that, making sure that your banking applications and the applications and software that people use to log into your bank on an app or on a website, making sure that is segmented and separated from the internal applications and internal uh, software that you guys are doing. So obviously you don't want to have it wide open where it's a shared environment of banking application software and I don't know, like Mimecast and some of the internal tools that you guys are doing that the IT department or the CEO is using. So you don't want to have that mix. You want to try to do micro segmentation, segment, compartmentalize as much as possible. Because if there is a breach or a compromise, you need to contain the fire and contain the threat so it doesn't spread throughout the whole entire organization. And so some of these techniques you'll see, they got a foothold, and because of the lack of microsegmentation or lack of restriction, they were able, some of these nation state actors, the APTs, were able to spread out and go throughout the whole entire organization and just cause havoc and just lock everything down. So yeah, knowing your environment, restricting access, making sure that you are checking your house, doing housekeeping, every month, I would say, do like a pen test, do an external pen test to make sure that if there are any holes or things you need to patch that haven't been patched, that you haven't found, that it gets patched before there's an actual attack. If you, just like they were suggesting mitigations, restricting registry permissions, file directory, making sure that you don't have empty accounts just sitting there waiting to be grabbed. Because that's how some of these actors will go ahead and get access, and now they're in, or open tunnels, open ports. Yeah, so password guessing, password spraying, command scripting, Windows command shell. This one was good. This is similar to the Wireshark that I showed on my stream, is or even the lab. I was showing basically the indicators of compromise, how you can, once a person has went to a website or a link and they clicked on it, they basically clicked on a hidden exe payload. Once they activate that payload, it allowed for the attacker that was listening on the port on that application, it allowed them permission, activated it, and now they have a keylogger, or a keylogger that was ready to go. It started recording all of their keystrokes, and then from there they opened up a shell, and then they were able to have a foothold on that computer and pull up a Windows Edge or Windows Explorer. So some of these you'll also see like the scripting, the Windows scripting. It's basically creating reverse bind shells or shells, hidden shells. So when you see like hidden shells or reverse bind shells, that's what they're referencing, is that basically they create a shell that was activated through a payload, whether through a website or just through a hidden application, because the attacker's already inside the organization or inside the machine. And instead of going to, I don't know, like Wireshark, they were hiding a payload. So never change a running system. So financial still uses COBOL.
Yeah. Also wanted to throw into Doug what you're saying. Like I think another way to also really, I guess, hit home, because I think what you're also saying too, and it's I advocate the same as you, is when you're pen testing or when you're red teaming or when you're emulating a threat or even performing adversary emulation exercises, etc. What you're effectively doing is you're not trying to break the technology. You're not trying to infiltrate the technology as much as you're trying to bypass or test or measure the effectiveness of their current security program. Like how mature are they? And I'll give you an example. Like if you are on an engagement and you've gained access to an endpoint and you're able to inject into another process fairly easily without any detection, any alerts, then you can safely assume that there's probably a lot of other similar types of attacks you can pull off without worry. And that's what Doug's trying to highlight there is if you're good in one area and then you're able to infiltrate that area, that gives you a very clear picture of how effective the other security controls might be in the environment for you to navigate and bypass. And that's what threat actors are trying to do. Once they know one thing works, they can generally assume several things adjacent or similar to it will also likely work. And that's really important to consider, is that you're not trying to just become the master of technology. You're trying to learn cracks in policy, which is reflected in security controls and processes that the organization carries out day to day. You find a crack in one, you're probably going to get further with several others. That's really how the initial foothold in these other attacks really take off. That's what Doug's trying to walk you through with these steps are there for a reason.
Yeah. So, and that was a great wrap up, a great summary. Come from Anthony. So somebody that has been on the red teaming side, super knowledgeable. He also has experience in both sides, so that's great, and that makes him one of the the special ones, the great ones. Because
don't oversell me now, man.
There's other people. I mean, you'll see a lot of talented people as you go through your career. You'll see a lot of bad guys and good guys. It's how you use that information and how you run with it is basically what we are teaching you. And why we're teaching you is we are sharing our experiences, our knowledge, so you guys can surpass us, so you guys can go ahead and be on that next level, and then just be super passionate and excited as we are in our careers, and how fun it can be. Yeah, it can be technical, yeah, it can be boring, but if you are looking at things that pique your interest and you're just having fun, essentially, without being reckless, but if you're having fun, you can even like take some of these malware and scripts and then just throw it into a sandbox, throw it into a virtual machine. And Anthony has always showed you how to create your own sandbox, how to create your own virtual environment for a reason. If you want to go out and just break stuff and cause havoc, go at it. You can always reset and just wipe your whole entire sandbox, your whole entire virtual machine. Just don't intentionally go to Google or I don't know, like Microsoft Edge and start going to shady websites and download it on your personal machine. Don't do that. But make sure it's in a controlled environment that's safe, and just have fun. If you don't know like what a rat is basically a remote access Trojan. you can Google it. There's commands of how this particular shred or this particular modified version of a remote access Trojan was used and implemented by some of the nation state actors. If you want to look at the scripts for it, there's examples of scripts of actual back end evidence showing like, okay, well, this is what remote access Trojan does. Not that. Um,
That's what happens to me too, man. You saw like one of the streams. I'm like, well, let me just go find like a nice image that I can show someone. I'm like, nothing exists. Like, and then you just gotta start drawing it out.
Yeah. I might have to, just show you guys the coding or the back end, or Anthony. If we do that on the maybe on another course, we can show you guys like advanced tactics and actually run through the commands in Kali Linux or something like that. Yeah. But you guys need to have that, that basic down of like everything that he's shown you, everything that's in the SOC 100. This is advanced stuff to go ahead and reinforce like that curiosity, reinforce like, hey, this is what the bad guys are using, and this is how they are good. This is how they're able to get into some of these organizations, and how you hear about them being successful and taking down U.S. nuclear facilities, and how they're able to hack Swiss bank accounts, because it's not that they are some super amazing people that you can never aspire to. You can be at that level, but you have to have that knowledge. You have to just keep at it. And some of these guys, they just do it 24/7. That's the business, that's the job. And so us as defenders, if we start thinking about how these bad guys are doing it, if we do the research, if we keep up with these current trends and the current threats, then we can go ahead and, okay, how do I defend against it now? Okay, well, if it's, let's say they are taking advantage of port 443. Well, I know port 443 is HTTPS. Let me look into my organization, my network, and make sure that we're not broadcasting anything or have any applications or software that is opening up communication internally to external over 443. If we do have a application, just example, let's say Adobe is using 443 and you're using like Adobe AI or something like that, and it's communicating over 443, and you have to have it within your organization, or at least make sure that it's going to a specific subnet, a specific IP CIDR range, making sure that it's not open over other applications. It's not inviting other applications into it from external. So just locking it down and restricting access as much as possible, because you don't want to have a hidden application or a remote access Trojan or a piece of malware go through that tunnel. So start thinking about how some of these attacks and some of these techniques that are being used from APT 28 or some of the other techniques that you see in here. Just go into the website, into MITRE ATT&CK, and have fun, research. Look at as much as you can, and just figure out, okay, well, this is how the attack happens. This is what they're doing. Okay, how would I go ahead and defend against it if I had to? How do I stop an attack like this from happening? How do I be forward thinking? And if I see some of these scripts being deployed, how's it being? How am I going to stop an active attack from happening? So yeah, those are some of the things I would say, and how I'm treating offensive attacks and techniques as a way to reinforce my defensive. If we had more time, and if you guys are interested and get to that basic SOC 100 level, then yeah, I can definitely sit down with you guys and show you, okay, well, hey, what do you guys want to run? Do you want to run exploitation? Cool, let's break it down. Let's show you some techniques. Let's spin up Kali Linux. Let's go to terminal. Let's open up a Metasploit. Let's do MSF console. Let's do Hydra or any of those interpreter, and use some of those terminal programs or shells to go ahead and start launching attacks. And let's go ahead and test it out on a virtual machine or a dummy laptop, so we can see how the attack happens, how the script actually creates vulnerabilities or exploits a hidden vulnerability. So yeah, how do you maintain the C2? And then also, as you guys progress, as you guys get to that next level, ask Anthony, ask other pen testers, other red teamers, how do you guys do what you do, from an offensive standpoint. So yeah, do you guys, there's about 13 minutes.
Yeah, we got a little bit more time. There was 2 questions over there in chat. So scrolling up, we've got Bearded asking a question, and then I threw the old are you ready for the "it depends" answer? But he's asking, how long should a person stay in area like blue teaming before they go off to learn a red team?
Yeah, it depends.
It depends, exactly.
Yeah. I would say at least have the foundations, have a level 100, level 200 understanding of, okay, well, you have the basis, you have the groundwork, that's level 100. You have a little bit of sysadmin, you have a little bit of networking, you have a little bit of Linux, etc. You have network security, you have some cybersecurity using some tools, you know how to create a virtual environment, you know what a virtual environment is, you know how to sandbox things. Now 200 level, let's start going deeper into it, doing specific tools. How do they function? What are some of the ways they can monitor threats, identify suspicious traffic like Wireshark, Zmap, Zscaler, all these different tools, and shutouts. How do you use Sentinel, Azure Sentinel? How do you go ahead and utilize a SIM or SOAR to monitor attacks that are happening out in the wild? How do you track the geolocation? How do you create a script in KQL to geolocate IP address, latitude and longitude? I've done it. It's pretty cool. It's nerdy, but it's advanced. It's because you can definitely track and see where IP address is coming and like isolate it straight to that person's house or that person's specific address. It's kind of cool, but dangerous. And you have to be on that advanced level. But yeah, like different things. Once you get to that 200 level, I would say if you have an interest in red teaming, then you can either shift or you can, like I did, I made sure I had a good solid 10 years work experience, mixed in with like, military and also NATO and government sector. But doing different exercises, like live exercises of like, hey, we are just going to throw you in an unknown environment. It's going to be you defending against an active attacker, and an active attack that's happening, and they are trying to destroy everything. You have to stop it using these tools in this environment. And it's something you may not have ever used or played around with. And so you have to adapt. You have to be in this environment quickly. So it's basically environments like that are intense. I would say maybe have a level 200 knowledge before you start doing like on the spot threat exercises, because it's going to be stressful, it's going to be crazy, and you need to adapt quickly to an active attack. But simulating, it's good practice because it's basically punching you in the face and getting you ready for getting your nerves out of if you just got hired on as a SOC analyst to a job, to a big corporation, and your first week or your first month, there was an attack that happened, an active threat. Somebody breached the network, they're in, the attack's happening. You don't know the team, You don't have enough time to know how the team operates. You just started. You don't really know the environment. You don't know the network layout, the organization layout. You may or may not know some or all of the tools that you're using as a SOC analyst. How do you do it? How do you adapt? How do you help to stop this attack? Yeah, they may not throw you in the fire, but if it's so severe that they're fighting off APT 28 or some of these nation state actors, you're gonna need everybody on the SOC team or everybody in IT to help out and stop this fire from spreading. Because nation state actors are not script kiddies. They're not amateurs. They are really on top of this stuff. It's gonna be intense. It's gonna be crazy. But that's the design. That's why I said it depends. I would say get to a level 200 and then start deciding if you want to go red teamed or if you want to use red teaming to complement your blue teaming stance like I did. So we'll go into the exercise. I know it's a little bit long, sorry, but hope that answered the question.
Yeah, I fully agree with it. It's just the same thing. Yeah, the red team is like tier 2 and up. Yeah, so like once you hit like once you're comfortable with tier 1 SOC analyst type of events and the IT adjacent knowledge next to it, and everyone's going to have their pace. So once they get there, and you're like, okay, now I'm dabbling with like the tier 2 level and up, and you're actually like triaging a fully compromised Windows workstation for common attacks and patterns that you see, then it would be a good recommendation, is what Doug's kind of saying. Because you have to remember, once you're on the red team, the easier part is running the attack once you figure out how to do it. The harder part is then figuring out how to prevent that attack from happening and then getting someone to put in the controls to prevent it. So, yeah. Hades, Happy New Year as well, too. Thanks for the sub as well. Appreciate that, man.
So it sounds like it's best to start as a beginner in blue team. Yep.
It's recommended, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely can go straight into red teaming. You could start focusing into red teaming and have that now focus. It's going to be a little bit harder if you don't have knowledge of like being a sysadmin or network security admin or SOC analyst or cybersecurity analyst. It's going to be harder. You could do it, but I mean, you're also siloing yourself into you just know red teaming. So, and hoping that you pick up, and you're going to pick up like different operating systems, different environments. You're going to learn on the job as you start doing these pen tests or these engagements, and start writing reports. How is a red teaming or pen test report written? Because there is a format. There's a template. You have to modify it to every client, every target organization, and then figuring out what is the scope of the engagement. Whether are you guys doing external, internal, and web applications, or attacking the cloud, or is it just internal, which means that they are creating a user account? Is it a gray hat engagement, black hat, white hat? What does that mean? So knowing all these things. But internal, if it's a gray hat, that means that they maybe create a user account for you, a dummy user account on the machine. They give you some information like, oh, this is I don't know, this is how many applications we have, this is how many servers we have, just general stuff like numbers, not specifics. And then you have to just go grab root credentials, grab root admin privileges, and get access to a DC, and then that's the scope of engagement. Once you have maintained persistence on like the domain controller or Active Directory, or once you've found specific flags that they embedded, then the engagement's over. You can provide screenshots, etc. So it really depends on the engagement on the client. But yeah, you definitely can go red teaming strictly, but why? It would be better.
Yeah, that's exactly it. But but why?
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it. Yeah, but why, right? So it depends, but why? Yeah, like there's no rush. Really, truly. Like, I hope everyone is not. Yeah, I think it's easy to get into the mindset of like, okay, a tier one job sounds like that's like entry level. I mean, it's not. You've seen now in SOC 100 how much work you've had to study and learn just to like learn to set up your home lab. And now like you've got a whole bunch more to study just to learn the basics of cybersecurity. There's a reason why even like a tier one analyst gets paid quite well. They're well respected, well valued. Don't rush. This is not a race. It's not a race. And then
Yeah, I feel. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Doug. Finish off.
I was gonna
and then we
say,
got one more.
yeah, I was gonna say I've been 12 years doing blue teaming, 3 years like offensive, and I've been in 3 NATO like cybersecurity engagements, and I'm still learning. I mean, so I'm not saying all that to say, oh well, I know everything. No, I'm not. I mean, I don't think anybody is really. You could have 20, 30 years being cybersecurity. You could be Kevin Mitnick, and you still have to learn because these threats do not just stop. They don't just stop. Okay, well, you 30 years of cybersecurity, cool, you know everything. No, like as time progresses, as technology progresses, especially AI, because that's the new thing too, is people are using AI. They're hacking AI tools. They're using it to basically open it up and jailbreak it, and then they're using these other tools to go ahead and make their jobs easier as bad guys. So
yeah, cool, man. We got one last question here, and then we're going to wrap it up
sure.
after that. So from Jacopo over here, a little bit up, he's asking, is this also the same concept under the hood of lateral movements? So like, for example, if an attacker gains access to a host with some credentials, he could then also gain access to another host in the same network, I guess via the same attack pattern. That's how I'm reading that. Yeah, that's effectively it. Yeah. If
That's
it works once,
movement.
it's gonna walk. It's gonna work again. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it also depends because I've seen I haven't done it, but I've seen other red teamers, pen testers, but I've seen them go and get access, like admin access, in the cloud environment, and then if there's a tunnel for them to use that same admin credentials in on premises, then there you go. There's a way from going from cloud into on-prem, but that's on the organization's fault as well. Why you having a domain admin or admin have the same credentials in the cloud that also has access to on-prem? It's just asking for a vulnerability. But yeah, there's lateral movement is basically, okay, well, I got user access, and then now I'm going to pivot and get admin privileges. So, yep. Anything I missed? Anthony, anything you want to hit on? Final comments, closing?
Oh, I think that was good. I think it answered the question there too. And I think overall, yeah. So we've hit goes by fast. Jeez. I think so. One thing I think we've realized, we've definitely got room to expand a little bit more, maybe on some like some focused snippets of sort of the next steps at a more technical capacity. Like you said, like kind of breaking down some type of hosted malware or something. Maybe we can get it like neutered or defanged and pull it off so we can inspect and see how it works. We've also got threat intelligence that we can inspect further from our research on the dark web and just other OSINT sources. But I guess we're gonna have to save that for another time. We've got some more time digging those things. In the meantime, big thank you, Doug. Huge thank you for coming on stream and sharing your knowledge and your insight and wisdom, answering some good questions and giving some valuable answers to the community over here. And I think they really enjoyed it. I saw a lot of little like light bulbs kind of appearing in their heads as they were writing, and like, oh, that's interesting, like making a little sense of things. So yeah, huge. And thank you for coming on to our stream over here. As always a pleasure to have you with us, Doug.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. I'm always available if you guys want to hit me up. Yeah, and just keep being knowledgeable, keep being passionate about it. I definitely appreciate everything Anthony, Level Effect, and you guys as students have been telling me and teaching me. So thanks, always a pleasure.
Team effort. Cool. Thanks, Doug. Well, we'll see you tomorrow morning, SOC 100 stream, back in action, 10 a.m. Eastern. So we'll see you then. Have yourselves an awesome rest of your Friday, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.